So we're here today with one of our preferred inspectors for Mojave County. He does a lot of business here, and what we want to talk about is home inspections, why they're important for the buyer, and some basic information about them, how we as agents can best prepare our buyers and our sellers, and what the key points are to understand in the home inspection process. Randy, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Randy with Desert Property Inspection Services. I service all of Mojave County. We do a little over 700 inspections a year.
Randy, what do you think is the most beneficial thing to a buyer for having a home inspection?
Well, it gives you a condition of the house, gives you peace of mind, lets you know what you're putting your money towards, gives you a good batch of information to make a decision. It's a lifelong decision. It's a big money decision, and you need every bit of information you can to help you make that decision. That's what we're there to do.
So helping the buyers make an informed decision about the home that they're purchasing?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. What is the best advice for a buyer's agent that you could give to help them prep the buyer in what to expect for their home inspection?
Well, they just need to know that, you know, it's a non-invasive inspection. We don't tear open walls. We're looking at everything that we can see visually. You know, we don't move furniture. So if the house happens to be occupied, we're not going to be moving couches away from the wall or beds away from the wall or moving the china cabinet or anything like that. We're going to look at everything that we can see without moving anything. No opening up of walls or anything like that. We will get on the roof if it is safe. We will get in the attic if it is safe. We will crawl under, you know, whether it be a mobile or a house that's got a crawl space if it's safe. We just want to make sure that they understand that, you know, we don't look at a lot of cosmetic stuff either. You know, we look at structural stuff. We're looking to see if the house has good bones and that, you know, it's going to last for a while.
What is the best advice for a buyer's agent that you could give them to prep the buyer before having the home inspection?
We want to make sure that the agent lets the buyer know that, you know, the process is going to take a couple hours. It's not going to be a quick run through in 30 minutes. They're going to get a detailed report at the end with everything that's got issues with the house. They should know that they shouldn't be scared by the length of the report. They shouldn't be scared by the number of items that are in there. A lot of them are easy items to repair. A lot of them are simple. Some of them are just kind of an FYI or maintenance items. They're not necessarily things that have to be done right now. And that's what we try to do is sort things out, give them some priorities as to what should be dealt with right now and what can be dealt with at a later date.
Would you say that a lot of the things that you come across are mostly just your basic homeowner maintenance stuff that just needs to be kept up over time?
Absolutely. Some of it's just been some neglect in maintenance. Every house is livable. It's just a matter of, you know, what you want to do to make it that way.
So to the customer standards?
Absolutely. And it's just, some of the stuff is little stuff. A lot of times sellers don't even know that this stuff is wrong.
Sure.
You know, and they're just as surprised as the buyer is when we do find it and report on it.
So Randy, what is covered in the home inspection, interior and exterior? Can you just give me a brief overview of those things?
Everything that we cover in the home inspection, we try to do top down. We'll get in the roof. We'll go in the attic. We'll work our way down. We'll do all the interior, we'll do all the exterior. We try to focus on the structure of the house, the bones of the house. We don't deal with a lot of peripheral stuff on the outside. If there's an obvious fence that's leaning over or deteriorated or damaged, yeah, we will mention it, but it's not our focus. We're not there to do that. We're there to make sure that the house that you're buying is structurally sound.
So would it be safe to say something like anything around the foundation of the house and up from the ground is the focus of your inspection?
Absolutely.
And then your landscaping and shrubs and all of that
the only time we're going to deal with shrubs or vegetation is if it may harm the integrity of the structure. Okay. Otherwise, we don't even deal with it.
So those are things that are not commonly reported?
No.
Okay.
No. And we don't deal with sprinkler systems. I mean, we do get some requests, you know, but for the most part, we don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice can you give to a seller's agent when you go to do a home inspection for the buyer? What about the seller's agent? How can they best prepare the seller for the home inspection?
Well, they need to make sure that the things that we do need to get to are accessible. They need to make sure that we can get to the attic. You know, we don't want to open up the garage door and find the car parked there and nobody home to move it. We want to make sure that we can get into electrical panels, sub panels. If there is a crawl space, be able to get into the crawl space. We run across a lot of electrical panels that have padlocks on them. So make sure that you leave a key or leave it unlocked. Make sure that you leave us a note if something doesn't work. So we're not trying to make it work and we make a mess.
Okay.
Like a dishwasher that may leak or something, let us know that it doesn't work.
Okay.
So we're not trying to test it.
How would you address major items of concern on a report versus ones that are not as big of a deal?
Well, in our reporting, what we will do is we will color code the issues. Anything that is yellow is something that we feel that you should address with your agent and with the seller. Anything as green is just kind of an FYI for your information, maintenance items, to take care of after you move in, that type of thing. So we try to prioritize it so you know what's important and what's not.
Okay. And so speaking from a national perspective for agents that don't use your system of reporting, would you say that those most concerning items usually come in a summary or a most?
Yes, most inspectors will arrange their report so there is a summary of issues. That way you don't have to dig through the whole report. Not to say you shouldn't still read the whole report, because you should. It's just that they try to summarize everything in one spot, so it's easier to go through and see what is wrong and what issues need to be addressed.
Okay, great. Does a house ever pass inspection? A lot of times when I work with buyers or even sellers, they'll say, did the house pass? Is that a common phrase that you hear?
We hear it all the time, and we try to tell people there is no pass or fail. This is just a moment in time, and this is what this house looks like. It could change an hour after we leave or 6 months after we leave, but that report is based on right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's a really good conversation for us as agents to have with our buyers and our sellers, to let them know that the home inspections are just a factual basis. It is what it is, and you're here to report it.
Exactly.
It doesn't pass or fail. It's what they're willing to accept. Would you agree?
Absolutely. This is it. Like, again, it's just, this is the condition of the house at this moment in time. It could change.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I would let them know is that, we're not the final reporting of everything. I mean, and maybe that's not the right wording to use, but if there's something that they see, like window coverings, we get asked, are you going to talk about window? I don't care about your window coverings. I mean, but if that's a concern to you, absolutely bring it up to your agent. It's not going to be in the report.
Yeah.
And just because it's not in the report doesn't mean that they can't still ask something to be done to it.
Sure.
Or with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing that you mentioned, that the home inspection is not the be-all, end-all of the buyer's due diligence period.
Correct.
And it's what the buyer's expectations are for the home, and you're just here to state the facts of the functionality. Is that right?
Correct. And the other thing they also need to understand too is that we are, we're kind of like general practitioners, as far as a doctor. I mean, we're there to look at everything, get a visual of everything, and then if we see issues, we're going to recommend them to a specialist. We'll refer them to a roofing contractor if there's a problem with the roof. We're going to refer them to an electrical contractor if there's something wrong with the electrical. We are just generalists. We're not licensed contractors in each of those areas, but we will at least give you an idea of where you should dig a little deeper, and hopefully you'll get that taken care of within your inspection period.
If something needs more evaluation.
Exactly. Further investigation, evaluation. Yep.
That's a really good point.
Yep.
That's great. Do you think that a seller should have a house inspected prior to listing it?
I think they should, absolutely. As long as they're not trying to hide something.
Yeah.
But most people are honest, and if they truly want to know what's wrong with their house or what issues are there, I say absolutely get one before you list it. It gives them an opportunity to see what the issues are, gives them an opportunity to take care of those issues before they list it, and I think that helps with being able to negotiate price as well. They already know the state that it's in. They can adjust their selling price accordingly, or know that they're going to probably have to give some concessions or whatever, but at least they know they're not going in blindly and then find out, oh my God, I gotta give this guy $5,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like the same education process for the seller about their house that it is for a buyer, giving them the power to make the educated decision about it.
Absolutely. And like I said before, a lot of sellers don't know that
Right.
there's anything wrong with their house.
Yeah. Yeah. So Randy, how long is your inspection good for, your report that you do?
Well, the minute I walk out the door,
Yeah.
things change, things break. They have a certain life expectancy, and some, because we don't know how stuff was installed, we don't know how stuff was maintained. Water heaters could go out at any time. It might have been fine during the inspection, but if it sat empty and you don't move in for another couple months, during that time, something could go wrong. It could go bad, it could go out. So pretty much the minute we walk out the door, unfortunately.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in a lot of older homes, you probably come across things that were maybe up to code at the time that they were installed or built, but the codes have changed since then. What are the requirements for noticing those items that are maybe still functional, but not currently up to code?
Well, it's another fine line that we have to walk. We're not code inspectors, but at the same time, we still need to know the code and what is code at the time that it was built and what is code now. Perfect example is the ground fault circuit interrupters, the GFCIs that are in your bathrooms, that are in the kitchen. Those evolved. They started requiring them in one area, then they added to them. When we inspect a house, if we run across stuff like that, we will let the buyer know that, hey, this was not a requirement at the time that this house was built, but we recommend, as a future upgrade, that you bring it up to code.
Sure. So would you say that you would ever recommend that if something is still functional and working, that the seller be required to update those for the sale?
I would say no. If they're still functioning, they're fine. And in reality, a seller doesn't have to fix anything.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's a key point that a lot of buyers sometimes, we get a home inspection report and they say, well, this is wrong, the seller has to fix that. And the inspection is really just to educate the buyer about the condition of the house and to be used for negotiating with the seller. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
The seller can or cannot agree to those repairs.
And you'll notice when we make our comments in the report, we just recommend.
Yeah.
Where we will never state that somebody has to do anything. It's just a recommendation, and a seller doesn't have to fix anything.
So as an agent, that's a really key point for me, because I think that being able to relay that to my clients in what the seller is obligated to do and not do, and setting their expectations, really makes the inspection process go a lot smoother when the buyers know that they have the ability to make negotiations, or they cannot purchase the house, that they're making the educated decision, but not setting the expectation that the seller has certain requirements.
Correct.
What kinds of things do you not put in your report? Things like chipped paint, hollow floor tiles, missing toilet paper rolls?
Well, we're not obligated to report on finished flooring, whether it be carpet or tile or anything like that. If we do run across something like worn carpet that is a trip hazard, that becomes a safety hazard, then absolutely we will report on it. If we, with regard to tiles and stuff that are cracked, we will, if we see them, we'll report on them, but we're not obligated to go looking for them. And we will do that as a courtesy. You run across a house that's 2,000 square feet and it's got 1 foot tiles, I'm not going to go step on 2,000 tiles. But if I happen to see it as I'm walking through it, then absolutely I will, as a courtesy, let them know that, hey, it's hollow here, or this is cracked, or anything like that. And it's more of an FYI, we don't make any recommendations on it.
Okay. And then what about odors? I'm sure you've come into houses that, in the pictures and that you can't see how it smells, but pet odors, smoke, maybe fire damage, something like that. Are those ever in your report?
Everybody's senses are different as to what they will either smell, or that they don't like that particular smell, or something. And we don't really on odor. We don't report on odor. In any kind of fire damage, if we see it physically, absolutely, we report on it. But, and any kind of staining we will report on. We will always assume it's a water stain, but it could be a pet stain.
Sure.
But as far as smells, no, we really don't.
So those are not something that can be expected to be in a report?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Randy, what are some frequently asked questions that you get from the people that you do inspections for?
I get actually about the only main question I get from anybody is, did it pass? Believe it or not.
Did it pass?
Yeah. And I get that obviously from the sellers more than I do the buyers, but I really don't get a lot of common questions. You know, it varies based on the experience of the buyer.
Yeah.
You know, some buyers, this is the first house they've ever bought. They don't even know what to ask.
Sure.
And then there's others that, you know, have specific things that they want to ask that relate to that house. But as far as a common question, I don't get a lot of common questions. The one I do get is, did it pass? You know, how's it look? Would you buy it? You know, and that one, you know, I try to stay away from.
Well, it's not your money. You don't have to live there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, they always, you know, I know you're not supposed to say, but, you know,
Yeah.
would you buy this house? And I try to tell them, oh, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, you know, or this is what's wrong with it, or, you know, whatever. But I try to stay away from whether I would buy the house or not.
Right. Actually, that's something that we get asked a lot too as agents.
Yeah.
Would you live here? Would you buy this house? And that's my honest answer. And I think that that's a really good answer for any agent. If you're not planning to live there, that's not an answer for you. You want to ask them what's important to them, what matters most to them, and then serve their needs based on those answers. If this house fits that criteria and meets their needs, then it is a house that they should purchase. And if it's not, then it's not. Randy, what about re-inspecting? After you have a home inspection and let's say the seller does make repairs, they're getting ready to close, would you recommend that they hire the home inspector to go back and reevaluate the repairs that were made?
Absolutely, and I think a lot of that depends on how many repairs are being done. You know, if somebody's just replacing a couple cover plates or something like that, then I would say no. But if somebody has had to make repairs to the roof, has had to make repairs to any kind of electrical, any kind of plumbing, any of the major systems, then absolutely you should have the inspector go back and take a look at it and just make sure it was done properly.
Awesome. Thank you. So Randy, I really appreciate your time for coming in and talking with us about that. Getting to know your home inspector and having that relationship with them is key to the transaction for your clients. Being able to ask questions and understand the concept of the home inspection and what's expected and what's not expected is really a benefit to everyone in the process. And having that team behind you with everyone involved in your transaction is really important. So get to know the people that you do business with.